Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner?
Stand there on Roy Wilkins Avenue sometime and look down toward Broadway. It is one of the widest streets, maybe the widest in Jefferson County, that is supposed to be 2 lanes, one in each direction, but
Right.
they made them very wide. They put
Right.
extra space and they put the big median in the middle. That was not done to make it beautiful. You know what that was for? That was so
To
people
keep
would be
more
scared to
separation.
death.
Yeah.
People wouldn't cross it. They
Wouldn't
wouldn't.
cross it.
No, because
That's
if you
when
try to
they
get
built
across,
Beecher
you're going to
Terrace and they built 9th Street. It was
exactly.
so they said they won't come across the street because it'd be too difficult to cross.
It'll be too dangerous. And you know,
Yeah.
a few minutes ago, you talked about being a little girl growing up with all of the glory of life ahead of you, and how excited you smiled talking about walking to the theater. And somebody just told me, Kevin Fields told me, he used to walk over to 4th Street as a little child
Right.
because you could walk from
We
11th to
walked.
12th, and
We
you wouldn't
walked to
think
go
anything.
shopping down on
Right.
4th Street. We could walk. We walked to the movie theater. My mother worked at the Kentucky Hotel, which is now Kentucky Towers.
Right.
So sometimes we would walk up to her job, my brother and myself.
Okay.
But even I think about things that I knew how to cross the street by myself when I was 4.
Yes.
I went to Baxter. I had to cross 11th Street. I would go by myself to go take my little tap lessons with my dime. Let me tell
Wait,
you,
wait a
with
minute.
my
Take it.
dime.
Tell me about that.
Well, um, Mary Louise King was her
Yes.
name, and she was the dance instructor. And I lived in Cedar Court. I lived right
Right.
off
I know
10th
where that
Street.
is.
In fact, when they were tearing everything down, I went and got my address off the building. That's how much of a Beachitarian that I am.
I
And
love
there's an organization called the Beachitarians.
right.
Did you know that?
Okay. No, but we have but I didn't know about the Beachitarians.
These are old schoolers. These are people that lived in Beachitarians mid 40s,
Okay. Manfred Reed.
mid 50s. I know the name. But like the Gatewoods, Billy Gatewood,
Oh, sure.
who else lived in Beachitarians that you might know? Fran
Attica
Thomas
Scott's
was my
wife.
next door neighbor.
Who was?
Fran Thomas. She's
Oh,
gone now.
yes.
Fran saved me.
I'll be.
I set my bathroom on fire on purpose.
Okay.
Long
Now,
story short.
Janice, I want you to tell me about the dime, because going to tap lessons, I'm going to learn something here.
Well, I think dance lessons were on Wednesdays,
Yes.
and my mother would come home. She'd work double shifts at the Kentucky Hotel, and I'd go upstairs and say, I need my dime because I got to go take dance lessons. And my mother would give me my dime. And one wonderful story is I left my Tiny Tears doll and baby buggy on my front porch, and I went up to get my dime. And I know people are saying, what are they talking about? Look, life. And when I came back down, my doll buggy and my doll were gone. Well, I wreaked havoc. I found my doll buggy
Right.
and I smacked the little boy and took it away from him. And I found my doll, but my mother would not let me take it away from the person that had taken it from me. That's another story. But anyway,
Oh my
I
God.
would go across the
Wait a
field.
minute, girlfriend. We never forget these things.
Oh,
We
I
never
was
forget.
horrified. She told me, she said, let her have it. I said, she that's my dog. When you play with someone every day, you know
Right.
what toys they have. I said
Exactly.
there was anyway. I think it was one of those episodes that was really catastrophic to me, evidently.
I can tell. I can tell.
But I had my first dance recital at Baxter with Miss King, and I tapped, and they thought I was so cute. The curtains closed, and I got in front of the curtain and kept dancing.
So now, was the dime to pay for your lesson?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Maybe they kept a little petty cash to do things that they wanted to do at the center,
What?
because Baxter had a clinic in it.
Right.
It had a health clinic in it. It was the hub of Beecher Terrace.
See,
Anything that we needed, we could find there.
when
The
you
what?
said when you were talking about getting your dime to go to your tap lesson, I've always wanted to tap. So Janice, that's going to be something else. I'd love for you to teach me how to tap.
No, you have to go let Miss Chum teach you how to tap.
Okay. All right. Shoot.
No.
Because see, as you tell your story of going to tap lessons, when I was a little girl, my mom and dad decided when I was 6 years old that they wanted to take me to piano lessons. And so they would take me to my piano lesson. At 6 years old, my mother would drop me off in front of the building. And it's the building up on Bardstown Road that's called the Schuster Building. And it's right there at the corner of Bardstown Road and Eastern Parkway. And there's a Valvoline exchange
Yeah.
across the street, but that's where the old White Castle was.
Okay.
See?
Gotcha.
And so mother would tell me to get out of the car and I would walk up these stairs with a quarter in my hand. So you had
wow.
a dime.
I had a dime, you had a quarter. Yeah.
Janice.
So tell me, why do you think we're so segregated in this city? Aside from that they built the city that way.
Right. Well, I believe that segregation and racism began as soon as Angela was forced off of that slave ship as the woman on that ship in 1619 in Jamestown.
Right.
And it started there, and it was when the white man from Europe chained the black man and women to the belly of those boats, forced their labor across that sea, and stole the land from the red man. See, I'm of the principal people. My mother's Cherokee Indian.
Okay.
So there's a lot of atrocities that have happened. And Americans would like to say, they would like to say that all that's in the past, and it's not in the past.
It's not.
It's not. And
it's an open wound.
It's alive today, and it's not yes, that's an open wound from that time. Wound. So we had 246 years of slavery, forced labor, right, and that was just replaced with institutional oppression. So then you had men and black women never to this day have gotten anything in return for what was done. Right. To their ancestors. So you've got ADOS, the American Descendants of Slavery, which is a right, big movement in our country. Right. And I think, though, that racism is as strong and deep as it is because so many white people have not taken the time to even know their history and understand after that 246 years of slavery. Then you had all the institutional oppression, and then you right, had all the Jim Crow laws, and right, then you had the civil rights movement, and then you get to where we are today. And how is it that, statistically speaking, black and brown bodies are being brutalized and killed by our law enforcement at rates that are so much higher than they are for white people? And then right, look at exactly right. And so the racism runs very deep, and there's something called white privilege, and we're starting to hear that phrase used a lot more here in the last 3 or 4 years. Right. And I am starting to see some white people, slowly but surely, being willing to talk about it, read about it.
So started to have a different right, feeling about civil rights. That's why he started going towards the poor people's movement. Because right, to say it's not just civil rights, and for white people to understand that it was more about poor people because they too were being suppressed.
Right. Exactly. And then so you say, well, own property and buy houses, and they couldn't get loans because of redlining. Right. And so when that happens, you get someone white person who can inherit a grandmother's house or a parent's house, even if it's a small house, at least it's an inheritance, even if it's $100,000 house. But if Black families aren't able to transfer property and wealth because they never had it, they're never going to get ahead.
No. Listen to this one. I'm going to tell
Yes.
you this little story. This little story is about Newburgh and my family lineage. That there was a white man that had slaves, and he got yellow fever.
Oh,
And one of his slaves, she took care of him and brought him back around. Well, he gave her land.
oh my.
The land that he gave her was Newburgh, which
Okay.
back in the day it was called Butchell.
Right.
Some areas are still called Butchell, right?
Right.
So she had a sister. She didn't have children. She had a sister. And so all the land was divided. She took that land and divided it up between herself, her sister, and her sister's children. So they owned most of all of Newburgh. But when they needed indoor plumbing, that's when the city came and made the deal to give them indoor plumbing for the land.
Oh my good. Oh my goodness.
Deep story. So, I mean, there are so many different things about that have happened to us and why we don't have when we had. We had businesses when I was growing up in Beecher Terraces. All the businesses on Warner Street were Black owned.
Right.
All of them.
All the
Kinslow's,
way from
Charlie
Fort.
Moore's, Top Hat, the
Right.
drugstore. But it's just so many. I have wonderful memories of Beecher Terrace. Wonderful memories. And most people that grew up from the 40s to the 50s, not saying in the 50s there was a turn, in the 60s there was a turn, but that growing up in Beecher Terrace, mid 40s, mid 50s was a delightful time. Front doors were left open, and it was a neighborhood. It was a community of love and looking after each other. Never thought about anything like what we deal with today. A child 4 years old going across the court to go take dance lessons without somebody snatching them
Right.
wasn't a thought. Wasn't.